Hey guys, and welcome to the Hobby News. Alright, so this week it's all about vampires. Warhammer Fest is done, we've seen all the stuff that's come out, and now we're looking at the roadmap going forward, most of which is AOS, although there are definitely some 40k releases coming. But we're looking at a fairly, big bunch of AOS releases coming up, so I figure this week we'll focus on that and take a look. I didn't think of doing a wrap-up. There's so many videos out there of wrap-ups and stuff like that, and a lot of mixed feelings about everything. I don't know. It all seems a bit much to me. I'm too old to care about all that kind of stuff. I just like cool models, and I'm a sculptor. I just want to see the cool stuff and paint stuff and just enjoy the game for what it is, because it's always been a tumultuous ride, even from the beginning. And I don't know. I just don't see the point in wasting too much energy on that. So anyway, that's my 2 cents on that. But let's get into something fun and have a look and see what these vampires are all about. Because there's definitely some interesting stuff here, and I think it's cool. I think overall what they're offering up is pretty good, and I'm definitely liking. We're going to look at they've shown some, I guess, 4 big things about AOS 3, or like some changes, just overview. So we'll take a look at that as well. But to start with, we'll start off with the vampires here. So let's get into it. So we've got all of the vampiric bloodlines are noble, but only one has wolf paws. Yep, we're going to see that in a minute. So let's come down. So it talks about if you caught yesterday's Sunday preview, you know that the first wave of Soulblight Gravelords is up for pre-order this weekend. We'll be kicking the lid off the proverbial sarcophagus to take a closer look at them all week long. So we're going to see quite a bit coming out for these. So it looks like there's multiple waves, as it says, first wave, maybe 2 or 3 waves, who knows, of this stuff coming out. I'm really, really curious to see what else they're going to bring, what they've kept hidden that isn't there. And you'll be able to start pre-ordering them. So something interesting about this, and this particular figure that we all saw during Warhammer Fest, is that it looks like some aspects of the Flesh Eater Court's range is being incorporated into this. Now, I don't know how much of that you're using, but we'll see further down when we look at her bloodline that you are using Terrorgeists, and these are in the artwork, that some of these flayers, the flying ones. So I'm really curious to see what exactly of that Flesh Eater Court's range is being incorporated in here. I'd be surprised. Yeah, anyway, it's kind of interesting. I don't want to think too much more about that, but I'm hoping that means you can ally them in. If you're doing a pure Flesh Eater Courts list, maybe she'll be able to be allied in more easily somehow, or I don't know, something like that. That'd be great, because or maybe do it reversed, do a Flesh Eater Court style list through the Gravelords list. I don't know. But Flesh Eater Court, I've talked about this before. Flesh Eater Courts to me feel like they need like double or triple the number of options in their book. They're just so like limited in terms of their range and what you can do. You've got like 2 kits or something. So being able to have access to more of this would be super cool. So I hope so. I hope that's what this book allows you to do, so you can get a bit more of an interesting army going on. We'll get into like the new AOS stuff. So I think everyone knows, that they're going to do sort of generic battalions. You're not going to get like, or at least for match play anyway, they'll still have them for narrative and stuff, but for match play, you're not going to be having those themed battalions in the army books, I think, anymore. It's going to be like a list of whatever it's going to be, and you're picking those. Basically, they're taking their cues from 40k. 40k has your detachment rules and all that kind of stuff. You pick your detachment, and then you make your army on those compositions. With the addition in this case, probably you're paying for the battalion because they're adding in like generic special rules that go with that detachment, I'm assuming, like the battalions are at the moment. Or maybe they have no special rules. There's also that option as well. Who knows? Maybe it's almost it's identical to 40k. Either way, I'm very happy for that, because coming into this game, AOS, it's very convoluted. Like the way the army books are laid out, the way you're paying for things, where the rules are, where the descriptions of the rules are, it's all over the place, all through the book. It's extremely difficult to figure out how to make a list. I don't find it intuitive at all. It's not, in my opinion, the best way of doing it. I think, you know, for all of maybe 40k's faults, I feel like just constructing an army in 40k is way simpler and way more understandable than what AOS is. Considering AOS is meant to be a more streamlined game, you know, they've removed a bunch of stats from the stat line, you know, you don't compare stats. That was all, I guess, designed to make things more streamlined. But in the end, it makes things more convoluted because there's all these special rules you need to think about and understand in order to get the value from your units. So I feel like there's a thing there. But anyway, I'll be ranting on too much about that. But yeah, I'm very happy for what's been leaked or what people are suggesting is probably going to be in the new book and how it's working. It feels very much like they're taking their cues from 40k, and I think that's a really good thing. I think that's going to make you know, competitive play or match play a little bit easier to understand and how to build your armies. I think that's all very positive. So yeah, if that includes being able to use these in a Gravelords army, then I might be doing that instead. I don't know. But because I really like this model. I know everyone's either against or for. I'm in the for. I like this model. I think it's cool. I think the idea of it's great. Everything about it, I think, is really cool. So I'm hoping it has good rules. Anyway, let's move on down before I keep ranting. So not only are the new models disturbingly tempting, but the battle tome includes 5 vampiric bloodlines, each with its own culture and style of warfare. A few of them are getting more attention later this week, so consider this a tantalizing taste. Yeah, great. So there's going to be more coming. That's excellent. So we've got our main bloodlines here. Yeah, all really cool. What do all the vampires have in common? If there's one thing you really ought to know about these vampires, it's that they're pretty much all exceptionally strong wizards. That's good, because I'm an old school undead player, and I always liked, you know, the necromancy aspect of undead. I mean, as I've said before in another video, I've pretty much been inspired to make my own brand, my own, you know, world based on necromancy. You know what I mean? Like, I love undead, you know, and growing up with all of this stuff when I was a kid, that inspired me to make my own world that incorporates all of that great stuff that I love about dark fantasy and about this type of thing. And one of them is necromancy. You know, I really love all that. And I'm glad that the vampires are going to be hopefully good in that way, because they're not always like that. Back in the old days, the bloodlines worked a bit. You had more variance, I suppose. They weren't great wizards, but you had these wizards called these vampires, Necrarch, you know, vampires. That was the old school one, and they were more sort of weazened, old, kind of weaker, I guess, combat vampires, but they had much greater magic, so you could still play that necromancy style of play. And I'm glad to see that it's somewhere in this book you're going to be able to do that, because that's, for those of us that love the classic way to play undead, you need to have strong wizards, otherwise it doesn't really work. So anyway, we'll move on. Most of the vampire dynasties can ultimately trace their lineage back to Nagash. So naturally, or is this unnaturally, they're focused on dark art of necromancy. That's good. When you're an immortal being suffused with potent death magic, learning to summon the dead is an appropriate hobby to take up, especially if you want to grow your undead horde. Soulblight Gravelords earned their name by raising massive armies of the dead to fight alongside them. All right. Now, as I gather, I'm still pretty new to the gaming side of AOS, but apparently these next rules we're going to see are very similar to the Legions of Nagash book. And from what it said, I think in some other post somewhere that on another video I watched, this looks like this is meant to be replacing that old book, the Legion of Nagash book. So and it looks like their base rules, these are their sort of faction rules, I guess, are very similar to what they've had before, maybe slightly tweaked. So I don't know exactly what that's going to be, so I won't spend too long on that. You can have a read of this, pause the video and have a read. But basically, they're able to summon back units, but they have to be destroyed units, and you have to have, I guess, to make it a good roll. At the moment, it's on a 5+, but to get your half of the models back of your unit. It's a bit of a difficult way to set it up, but basically you're going to want to have killed some of their units to affect this roll, so you get +1 for each unit you kill. So that'll make it like, you know, so you'll have to roll a 4 and that'll make it a 5+, or if you've killed 2 units, you know, a 3 and so on. And then you'll also have to have had a unit of yours that is one of these keywords that has died previously, so that you can bring back half of it again within 12 inches of a grave site, and not no more than 9 inches from all enemy units. So, it's definitely, it's free as far as I can see. So it's definitely great. Apparently the old one was a lot better. Like you could summon back whole units. So it's about half as good, right? And that comes down to further down. We'll see the grave sites looks like they've halved as well, or at least gotten less. I think it's only 2 or something it says. So I don't know exactly all of that, but the implications of that mean that it's going to be a little bit not as guaranteed a thing to be able to bring back your units. So that's something to consider. But they do have apparently these other 2 here, which are very similar to what they had before. So we've got the Deathless Minions, so they get their 6-up Feel No Pain, which is great. I think that's very similar to what Flesh Eater Courts get as well, the 6-up Feel No Pain thing, so that's nice. That's within Lords and Heroes and all of that. And then they get... they get to do a double cast if you roll a natural 9, so unmodified casting roll. So that'll be cool. You get your double cast. I'm pretty sure, again, I think this is something that they've had before. I'm not quite sure if it's exactly the same, but it's close. So yeah, all in all, you get 3 sort of base abilities from the looks of it. There might be more, who knows? This is only what they're showing you, but it looks like it's like a kind of modified version of the previous book with maybe some slight tweaks and upgrades depending on how all the rest of the book comes out. So it's hard to really judge all this early on. But anyway, it's cool. I like it. It's all in theme with undead, so great. Okay, now we come down to the Bloodlines. So the first one off, we've got Legion of Night. So let's take a look. So this is Manfred's one, and artwork's cool. He's looking good there on his steed. So we'll take a look at what he's all about. So Manfred von Carstein's endless pursuit of power has made his vampiric vessels ambitious and arrogant. The Legion of Night prefer to use hordes of the undead to slow the enemy down and act as bait, while powerful vampires sweep in to claim glory once they sense an easy kill. They're the sneakiest of the 5 bloodlines, although I think this is meant to be more like cunning. I think that's what it's designed to be. Manfred and his dread abyssal Ashragoth even have a nasty habit of leaping out of combat only to reappear somewhere else entirely. So that's pretty cool. So he's got like a basically you charge him and he jumps away kind of ability, which is cool. And from what I gather, that used to be an item in the game back in the day. So it looks like he's going to get some sort of similar ability, which is cool. That's great. Keeps your general alive. So this looks like this is kind of more of a maneuvering, tricky style of play, I guess. That's what it's going to be, maybe with some hard-hitting units. I don't know, but it'll be interesting to see what that ends up looking like. Then we've got Legion of Blood, and these are the closest in, style and look to your, what was Tomb Kings, your Nephrita here and all of that sort of Nagash-looking, design aesthetic, the big hats and the bone elements and all that kind of stuff that I guess Egyptian inspired. So yeah, let's take a look. So Legion of Blood. Nephrita is the monarch of blood. Mortarch of blood. She thinks of herself as the queen of all vampires and maintains an incredibly complex network of spies. While Nephrita prefers political manipulation to threats of outright violence, her Legion of Blood is no stranger to warfare. Okay. When they do sally forth from their stronghold in New Lamia, the death-rattled legions march in lockstep in a menacing display of Nephrita's ironclad will. Add the fact that the Legion of Blood can take Black Knights as battle line units, and you have a reliable core of skeleton warriors around which to build your army. If you want to showcase the dark majesty of death, the Legion of Blood are peerless exemplars. Yeah, cool. So I guess this kind of feels very much like the most classic undead horde. They're even using the same words, the death rattle, so it means that a lot of the stuff that was in the previous book is coming across into the new one. So it looks like you can just sync everything in without having to rebuy or redo everything. It looks like they're keeping a lot of the keywords and everything. So that's great. People have those armies from that time. So let's come down now. We've got the Castelli I don't know, dynasty. Anyway, it's the Blood Dragons. So these guys are all the knights. So are the most warlike and martial minded of the vampire dynasties. These vampires reside in reside in the Crimson Keep, a magical castle that has a tendency to translocate from place to place. They have a strong preference for mounted warriors, all the better for catching up to the fortress when they get left behind. Okay, yeah. So it's basically like a crusading force, right? A bit of that Bretonnian-inspired element to them, and or Empire Knight inspired element. And yeah, they're cool. They're very much like the classic old school vampire counts, this type of thing. And a lot of players and a lot of people are happy that they're there and they've got new models. So that's cool. All good. We'll move on. Well, it says here, the Lord of the Crimson Keep is Prince Vordry or something like that, the Fist of Nagash. This mighty vampire leads his knights to war from the front, or more accurately from above on his zombie dragon. So yeah, so you'll have a zombie dragon lord if you're going to be taking them, I guess, or possibly like a generic lord on mount, on skeletal steed. But yeah, cool. You might even have a new model, who knows. All right, let's go down. So we've got the Avengori Dynasty. So this is the one that I'm most curious about. Although I don't really want that style of play as it's going to suggest, I'm hoping you can still mix this in with other stuff. I don't really want to play a monsters list, but I like the idea of what's going on here. Anyway, and it's a cool image. All right, so let's come down. So the Avengori are gruesome horrors that are willingly abandoned the pretense of humanity, making their homes in underground lairs in the realm of beasts. They seek out the largest, most worthy brutes in Gur to feed on. Ultimately, their armies are little more than rampaging packs of monsters, undead creatures. Not only are the Avengori twisted in body, but their minds also become increasingly deranged over time. Other bloodlines see them as debased, but they know they're just a hair's breadth away from becoming just like them. If you like armies full of massive fiends, yep, so we've got all the big stuff and the special character there, Luca Vi, then you can't go wrong with the Avengori. So it also says here you'll be able to take Terrorgeist, Zombie Dragons as battle line, but it also looks like Flayers as well. So it'll be interesting to see what else they allow in. Yeah, I'm very curious about that. And then we have this new one, the Vikos, the wolf pack. Basically, these are all the wolfy ones that came out with Curse City and all of the subsequent showcases of all these new vampires that are in this sort of, I guess, more Eastern European or Russian inspired kind of looking thing. It's all pretty cool. She's even got the wolf legs, which is like, a new thing for GW to be moving into the furry group, getting all this type of stuff. But yeah, it's cool. It's all good. And the big wolves and basically that kind of werewolf thing, which hasn't really been in the game before. So it's, it's cool to see it in there. We'll see how they play, but it looks cool, looks interesting. Anyway, let's see what they're about. This unusual dynasty has developed a distinct culture. The legends say their Soulblight curse cannot be traced back to Nagash, but rather to a god beast, which would explain the strange nature of their affliction. So yeah, they're basically werewolves, or at least some kind of hybrid vampiric werewolf breed. Of their connection to totemic animal spirits, chief among them is the aspect of the wolf. This connection manifests in the lupine features that can be found on their warriors and their ability to command packs of direwolves. The matriarch of the bloodline, Belladama Volga, makes no effort to suppress her animal core, her lupine legs proudly on display. Rumor has it that her hulking mount, Rotherback, was once one of her matriarch's ill-fated suitors. Yeah, cool. So we've basically got a pretty cool theme for them. And then one of the keys here is that all these characters that you'll be able to take. So on the tabletop, the variety of Vikos heroes all count as generals if taken in this Vikos army. So you'll have as it says, a strong support from leaders and wizards. So you'll have a way to sort of, I guess, protect some of the downsides of undead by having multiple generals and that sort of thing to keep your army going. So that's all really cool. So let's see what else they say. Check back all week for more insights into the Soulblight Gravelords. The battle tome and a draw-dropping selection of models are up for pre-order on Saturday. But in the meantime, let us know on... So basically, pre-order on Saturday, and you'll be able to get into it. So hopefully, there's a lot more to come. This is only the first taste. Just like with some of the other stuff they've released in waves, you have gotten quite a bit after. So even though there's only a few now, there must be a bunch more coming. And I'm pretty excited. I'm a big undead person, so I love all that, and can't wait to see what else they have. So yeah, all really cool. I'm very, very happy with what I'm seeing here. So let's just take a quick look at, we'll leave it on this lady because I like her. All right, sorry if you don't. Anyway, and now we'll come across to 4 things you need to know about, we'll go up this way. 4 things you need to know about Age of Sigmar 3. So there's a couple of things here, but nothing real. They don't really tell you much. So we'll go through this relatively quick because there's not really a lot here to glean from. Little tiny hints, but not a lot. So we know that the story is continuing. We know what it's about. It's about Kragnos here and destruction, and we know that the starter box is most likely going to have a destruction enemy and something new, a new breed, as they said. So there's a lot of rumors out there of what it'll be. One of them is this. So I think it's something that's been in Warhammer 3 Total War, or at least leaked or images on there, Famir or something like that. Anyway, I've seen people like looking at potential possibilities, and it's kind of a weird mix of an orc and an alligator, and a kind of weird, one-eyed monster with like a horned, like almost like a little bit of Nurgle. If you combined Skaven, Nurgle, an alligator, and an orc, and you put them all together, you get that thing. And it makes sense because it's meant to be coming from a swampy area. They're all and the image that shows of that, if you want to Google search, you'll see it kind of feels like that might be what it is. So yeah, I don't know for sure, but it's going to be something like that, because when you look at the main image of that angel with all of that sort of spawnish stuff around her, that doesn't look like normal orcs. That doesn't look like, normal destruction stuff. So, and it does say a new breed. So it's obviously going to be something new. So that does feel like it might be that, but who knows? We'll wait and see. So that's all good. Now, if we have a look here, they talk about the fact that they've designed it so that the older books will fit in with the new rules, so you won't have to go out and buy another book straight away. So that's really good. So it does say that. So the core rules for playing Warhammer Age of Sigmar may be seeing some pretty major changes, but your existing battle tomes will work just as well as they always have. In fact, the new edition has been designed around current books to give you the most seamless transition possible. So maybe unlike the new 9th edition 40k, where they actually play tested at least a version of all the new codexes. I think that was like the first time in history they've done that, where they've actually gone through and play tested everything so that you get less, codex creep. It's still happening. Obviously the new Drukhari are very strong, but I think people are, maybe storming a teacup because they haven't seen how that balances out with everything else. So far, all the codexes have been really good. If you're not into 40k, have a look at it, because they're doing really well with that. It's like each book is strong on its own, and yes, Drukhari are a bit stronger at the moment, but I feel like it'll even out in the end. I think most of it might come down to points adjustments rather than rules, because each book is so well put together, and I think that's got something to do with the fact that they were able to playtest a lot of this all together and get the whole thing working as a whole, which is extremely hard to do on such a big game. But as far as I'm aware, that's the kind of thing they did in preparation for releasing 9th edition. At least in some semblance, they had rules for each of the factions when they were playtesting. So yeah, but looks like with AOS they might not have done that. They might have used existing stuff and new stuff together to kind of balance it out. So who knows what the new books, how they'll go as they get released, but hopefully it'll be relatively balanced. So anyway, that's pretty cool. And then we come down, we've got Path of Glory here. This is the Crusade version for fantasy. And yeah, it's all pretty cool for those that want to do like more sort of smaller narrative gameplay with progression. They've got their system there, their Path of Glory. So yeah, for people that love that, that's cool. Nice image there. So yeah, that's all good. And then we have the launch of a new box, and as we all know, these things sell out very quickly, and if it's anything like Indominus, then it's going to be really good value, and yeah, going to get sold out in seconds. So yeah, good luck to everyone, I guess, that wants it. And considering how well they've reproportioned and designed these Stormcasts, and most likely they're going to have a very good army book. These are probably going to sell out real quick. I mean, it's got me wanting to paint them. So if you look at my hobby vlogs this week, the one that'll come out this week, I'll be talking about it because Yeah, the redesign here is excellent, and it basically makes this like collecting a Space Marine army, which is awesome. You know, sorry for those that hate Space Marines and all that sort of thing, but if you're looking for a gaming army, I also talk about this in another vlog there, in the hobby chats, and I talk about the concept of having one of your armies as a gaming army, like gaming standard in terms of paint job, and you know, looking at it as maybe not your highest level paint job, but something that you can achieve in a relative time frame and that you can add to easily, and that is going to be supported by the company, in this case Games Workshop. So now that they've done this, and I'm sure the book's going to be strong, this looks like a really good contender. It's exactly what they want you to do, and I think it's rightly so. To always have that backup army that you play as your gaming army while you're doing your passion projects and the real loves of your hobby, right? That you spend more time painting and more time converting and more time doing all that. Then you have this other army which you can do in a slightly shorter time frame, but still do a nice job, but plays well and always has a kind of relatively competitive codex. You may not care about competitiveness, but usually when they're competitive, they also have a lot of choices. That's part of the reason why they're usually competitive. Not always, but you know, if you look at the history of Warhammer books, most of the ones that end up being competitive do have a lot of choices, and the ones that are only like a storm in a teacup or a flash, you know, that are competitive for a minute, they don't usually last the test of time that much. They usually fall out of the meta very quickly. So something like this is definitely going to be a good choice for getting into it. And they've made it easy for you. They've taken off the robes and everything so that it's much easier to paint. And I go through my paint scheme. I'll be using that Runelord brass spray can. I've already done some tests and it looks really good. So you get a kind of more brassy finish, a bit like the new Angel, a bit more of a paler tone, but you can put a ton of different washes in here to get some really interesting effects. So anyway, that's my little rant on that. I think this is definitely a winner. I think they're onto something really good here. A very very iconic design now. It's definitely got that powerful look, which is what they really need to keep AOS alive. They need a faction like a Space Marine faction where everyone buys it, to keep that really strong and keep the game system working, so they don't have to completely destroy it again like they did with fantasy. You don't want to see in 10 years time they go, well, AOS isn't working, we'll do something else with it now, we'll blow that up and start again. You want them to continue, so they really do need that poster boy army, and that's that. And you don't have to collect it, but that's something you can. They always have the one that everyone hates, right? So you need that. Otherwise, who do you go against? You know what I mean? So yeah, that's cool. It's cool. I like that they're doing this. So that's all good. But hopefully everyone gets access to that new box. It'll have, obviously, as it says, or I should have said that, it'll have a limited edition rulebook, looks like. Yeah, so we've got, to kick off our introduction to the new edition of Warhammer Age of Sigmar, a box pack with brand new miniatures. A special edition of the rulebook will be coming, most likely in the box. Suffice to say, the stunning new Stormcast Eternals are making an appearance, but who will be fighting against? Well, yeah, that's going to be those, whatever that new destruction thing is. So yeah, also really cool. But I think these are the definite go-to if you're looking for a gaming army. That's definitely going to be the one you want to choose. Lots of options. You can play, they play in all the phases of the game. They have all the different things. You know what I mean? That's another big crucial part of it for enjoyable gameplay. But anyway, that's just another topic. So now we've got obviously the Angel. We've already seen this. She'll be coming. That's great. Doesn't really say anything new there about her. And then we get down to the end. So we'll come across to here. So we see it's going to be, hopefully that's in shot there. So we see it's about the end of the month. It's coming soon. And yeah, I couldn't be happier. That's great. I love a lot of the leak stuff on what the new rules are going to do. The smaller board size, like 40k. Basically, they're taking all the best bits of 40k and amalgamating that into Age of Sigmar, and I think that's appropriate because playing 40k, it's a great edition at the moment. It's very good. The books are great. They all come out. They're all really solid. It's a very good edition of 40k, and if you haven't checked it out, you should, because it's a very good edition. I haven't been disappointed with anything that I've seen or any of the gameplay that I've had. I mean, I suppose I'm biased. I'm a Death Guard player, and the Death Guard have only had great love through the last, like through 8th edition and 9th. Even losing their Feel No Pain, they're still an amazing book, and it's still really fun to play, which is something that Nurgle doesn't always get. They sort of get these mono-focused kind of tactical codexes that don't real army books that don't really have a lot of variety in them, but the Death Guard one has tons, and I hope they do the same thing for Blight Kings. They give them a lot of that variety within. Don't just make them that slow, purposeful, boring kind of thing. They give them a bit of variety in there so that you can make different lists. But anyway, that's another topic. So yeah, I hope you're all pumped. Hope this has been cool. I hope you're enjoying your day, and please like, subscribe, all that stuff if you've liked this. And yeah, I guess I'll catch you on the next one.